All right, I'll say good day to you. This transmission is titled The Fantasy of Contact versus the Reality of Contact. You have, over time, displayed many different scenarios of open contact with extraterrestrials. Many of them simply show an extraterrestrial ship landing, ETs stepping out and greeting humanity and saying something to the effect of, "We come in peace." While this is a general representation of the idea, this is mostly simply a fantasy, because the reality of contact is, as we have said, been going on for quite some time in a couple of different ways. First and foremost, contact with different cultures on your planet has been happening for quite some time. There are certain cultures, most of them indigenous cultures on your planet, that have known for many thousands of years of our existence and have interacted with us in a variety of ways. So this has been going on, open contact with these indigenous cultures, for a long, long time, for millennia. When we talk about the idea of open contact happening on your planet, in the typical way that you interpret this, we are usually talking about open contact with those aspects of your human culture that have not been involved with contact with various extraterrestrial species openly. So the idea is that it is new to the westernized cultures on your planet, but not new to the older cultures. So it is now approaching the time when your westernized cultures must be included in the idea of open contact, so that all of humanity can participate in the idea of contact. And aspects of this, even in westernized cultures, have been going on for a little while. Various extraterrestrials have made individual contacts with certain members of your society that had in spirit agreed to be the precursors, the preparers, the ones who would receive open contact and disseminate information to the rest of their culture over time. But also, for a little while, for several decades, extraterrestrials have been working, as you say, behind the scenes with certain scientists on your planet, certain government officials on your planet, to help with the evolution of humanity, to help with the evolution of your technology, your sociology, your economy, your spirituality. And so while this has been going on relatively in secret, it is now, as we have said, approaching the time when this knowledge, when these activities will come into the public light. And it will be done in phases. You have been exposed to many UFO sightings, UAP sightings, over the course of decades to get you used to the idea that there are beings, intelligent beings around you, coursing through your skies, emerging out of portals and vortices and wormholes, shifting from one reality to another so that you could view our craft around your planet for quite some time. And over that time, your public has become used to the idea of talking about UFOs, regardless of whether people may believe or not believe in our existence, it is still a subject that has made its way into general conversations and into your culture through art, through your movies, your television, your stories, your books, so that it is really not so unusual anymore to see tales that contain the idea of humans interacting with extraterrestrials, getting you used to this idea over a period of time, over a period of decades. The initial agreements with humanity were made in your 1940s and 1950s, whereby certain exchanges of technology and information were agreed upon and kept secret until such time as it was felt by your officials that your society could handle the idea that we exist and move toward the day when open contact could occur, when our presence can be publicly and officially revealed to you. So this has moved in phases. Certain scientists, certain government and non-government officials have been privy to our existence, have been willing to keep our existence a secret. There have been those who were more in favor of revealing information, and there were certain times throughout your history in the last several decades when that information could have been revealed. But certain observations, indications by your society indicated to us that it would be premature until such time as certain things occurred that would let us know that it was more important to reveal our existence than to keep it secret. That time is now approaching when certain situations and circumstances on your planet may lead to certain experiences that would not necessarily be of benefit to humanity in terms of your forward evolution and your forward momentum. While we have generally had a policy of non-intervention, allowing you to develop in whatever ways you so chose, as a society, as culture, as a species, the time is now revealing itself to be something which, as a fork in the road, as you say, can allow you to choose to go down a path of negativity and destruction, or to choose a path of positivity and evolution in a positive sense. And so the time is arriving when our presence and your knowledge of our presence will be an important factor in your ability to choose the path that will allow humanity to progress toward the future collectively in a positive way, though we understand that there may be some isolated experiences of disruption, getting used to the idea of the great changes that will occur in every aspect of your society, sociologically, technologically, spiritually, economically. The idea of coming to the point where you must now understand planetary management in order to move forward as a species is soon arriving. We will help with this. We have been helping with this. But now it must come to the forefront. It must come into your awareness that this has been going on. For you are reaching a critical turning point, a critical tipping point in your evolution, in your society, that makes it imperative for our presence to be made known for you to claim your place among our galactic family, if you are to proceed, if you are to progress, if you are to survive, if you are to evolve, if you are to exist as a human race on Earth, it is now important, very quickly, very soon, for you to become aware that you are not alone. So again, this will happen in phases where you will be introduced to certain extraterrestrials that are very similar to you within the next 5 years, so that there will be no doubt of our existence, so that you will have time in phases to acclimate to our existence and our presence, so that you will have time to acclimate to the idea that we have been involved and entangled with your society for decades, helping to bring about certain understandings, certain ideas, certain inventions and technologies that can aid and assist you in moving forward. And we'll be giving you more of these technologies, these ideas, these sharings in phases. And as you absorb this information and allow your planet to balance itself out, both ecologically, sociologically, technologically, politically, religiously, spiritually, economically, in all phases, all aspects coming together in a balanced way over the next few decades, so that humanity can allow itself to reach its full potential, so that it can move forward, so that you can choose the positive fork in the path, so that you will evolve into the beings that you as spirits, as souls, have agreed to become. With our help, this will happen. The reality of contact is that we have been here, are here, and will continue to be here to aid and assist you. This will be a process over time, revealing aspects of our existence slowly over time, but compared to what it has been, in an accelerated way. For we have, as a collective galactic society, touched base with humans on Earth in periods of thousands of years, checking in, observing, again, guiding at a distance. But now you have arrived at a point where our guidance must be firsthand if you are to continue along the path of evolution that your souls have agreed to experience. Now you have invited us to come in. Now you are inviting us to reveal ourselves. Now you are becoming familiar with our presence to the degree that is necessary for us to be more out front, more public, so that together we can aid and assist you in moving forward in the way that your souls have agreed in this lifetime to experience. So the reality of contact is that slowly we will become part of each other's societies over the next couple of decades of time. But this will begin, as we have said, within the next 5 years, so that you may awaken to our presence and awaken to your own potential in ways that will allow you to experience Earth as your home, letting go of immaturity and adopting a more mature understanding, a more galactic understanding, a more holistic understanding of who you are what you have agreed to from your soul level, and what Earth can become, its full potential realized over the next few decades, so that you may take your place among our galactic family. As has been written in the fabric of existence since the beginning. You have now arrived at the timing in these cycles of Earth where it is time to acknowledge, time to become aware, time to awaken, time to allow yourself the opportunity to know your path, how it intertwines with our paths, and how it will be an expression of what you have agreed to from the level of spirit in which you exist. The reality of contact is now upon you, and very shortly will be something that every child on your planet will experience from the day of open contact forward, to know for a fact that you are not alone, that we exist, and that we are here to help. We thank you for allowing us to share this information with you. How now may I continue to be of service to you? Please begin with your dialogue and your questions if you wish, so that we may move forward together.
So, hi Bashar. My question is, I've heard you talk about many cultures and many religions while you are explaining the answers, and you tell us some really crucial information about what actually happened. Being from India, I am naturally very curious about what is the essence of this land. And also, can you tell me who are the oversouls, or how can you define the oversouls of this land or this country? Additionally, people talk about temples here in India which were made long time ago and compare it to pyramid. So what is the vibrational significance of it? Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Thank you.
Long ago, about 10,500 years ago, a lot of temples, pyramids were built around the world relatively simultaneously to incorporate and encapsulate ancient knowledge so that disasters, natural disasters, would not wipe that knowledge from the earth. So, a lot of different kinds of scientific and technological and mathematical knowledge is incorporated into many of the ancient temples and pyramids that were built around the world by different civilizations at that time to preserve knowledge so that if a natural disaster happened, then that knowledge would not be wiped from the earth. It would be contained in those stone edifices for future generations to realize again, to discover again. We're not going to go into the idea of the oversouls of your particular culture at this time. It is a subject for another time.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
We have a lot of exciting questions from our audience today.
All right.
Is it just a fantasy that open contact will bring world peace? Will global leadership continue with the status quo once the ETs become a presence on Earth?
It depends on the government. It depends on the country. It depends on how they have structured themselves. Eventually, there will be global peace. It may take a while. Some countries will be a little resistant to change, but eventually in the next couple of decades, there will be global peace.
Wonderful. And how would you define planetary management?
The idea of the equitable distribution of resources, the availability of what is needed for everyone on the planet in the most efficient way, the balancing of the ecological systems on your planet, so that again, you are expressing the idea of nature in the best way possible for everyone. The idea of introducing new ways of doing things more efficiently, different materials that do not cause damage on your planet. The idea of how to distribute food, water, resources of various types, how to use resources more efficiently, free energy devices to free you up from the idea of the types of materials that you are using now, more guidance technologically to allow you to create future technologies that again are non-polluting and of benefit to all. The idea of diversification in various ways, using people's strengths, countries' strengths, cultures' strengths to benefit all, so that each is allowed to be who they are, both individually and collectively in certain cultural groups that can benefit humanity in a variety of ways. All of this and more is included in the idea of planetary management.
What will daily life look like after open contact? Will we continue living as we do, but at a higher quality, fully aligned with our passions? Or will our lives become entirely different and contact based, involving experiences beyond Earth?
All of this is possible, again, for individuals in different degrees and different paces at different times, depending upon what your life plans are. So all of it is possible and all of it can happen, but it won't necessarily happen in the same way for everyone. It will happen to whatever degree an individual's life path requires it to happen, and in what form and expression.
Can you talk more about the various meanings that open contact might have? There is, of course, the idea of contact with ETs, but does it also simultaneously refer to a kind of open contact with each other and perhaps an open contact with ourselves? Is open contact reflective of something that is happening in our own individual and collective consciousness?
Yes, of course. In a sense, the question answers itself. It is, as we have always said, very important for you to vibrationally meet us halfway, which means you have to have better communication and contact with each other and within yourselves as well, to the various aspects of your own levels of consciousness and aspects of your personalities. So more holistic cohesiveness within each and every individual on your planet and between all the individuals on your planet in terms of the validation of the differences in a balanced way will allow you to have more open contact with yourselves, which will allow you to have more open contact with us.
Can some of us expect more contact with the reptilians in future scenarios? Will there be a representative from this group? There are many of us who desire more information, not from a place of fear, but from a place of love. Or will it simply just happen for certain individuals after we're more accustomed to the first groups?
More like the latter. It will be at first relatively rare for the interactions with the reptilians. They have their own agendas, they have their own approach to things, some of which may not be completely vibrationally compatible with the idea of open contact at first. Eventually, you'll be introduced to them, but at first, it may not necessarily be to your benefit to do so. Not saying that there is any great negativity, but the idea is that the reptilians are, shall we say, a little bit more aggressive or assertive than many other ET races. It is just the product of their own evolution, the product of them dealing with their personalities relative to the personalities of other beings, including humans on Earth. And therefore, you may find them a little bit more abrasive in certain circumstances because of how they choose to express themselves and their ego structure. But eventually, yes, there will be interaction with some reptilians, though it will not necessarily ever be as common as your interaction with other ET species, for example, the Pleiadians.
Can you give us a timeline of when that might happen, when we might see the reptilians?
We cannot give you an exact timeline, but again, all introductions to all ET species to humanity that are important for you to know about will definitely happen within the next couple of decades at the outside. Some will happen sooner, some will happen later. We do not have an exact timeline for this, as there are still many things in flux and still many things to be decided about exactly how introductions will happen. Though the timeline for the beginning of these introductions is sooner than you may think.
Wow. What percentage of humans believe in ETs?
It depends on how you mean that question. The idea is that there are a large majority of humans on Earth that understand that life exists other than on Earth in the cosmos. That doesn't necessarily mean everyone believes that extraterrestrial beings are visiting your planet. So when you ask that question, you have to say, how many people believe that there is life elsewhere? And that is a very high percentage. 80 to 90% of humanity knows that it is more than likely that there are other life forms out in the cosmos, in the universe. In terms of the idea of how many people believe that we are visiting you in ships, it is a majority, over 50%, maybe somewhere between 50 and 60% of your global population believe this. But it is not as high as the amount of people that simply believe extraterrestrial life exists in the universe.
When ET ships hover motionless over a body of water for all to see, is there concern that some countries might take military action against them, even if they pose no threat? And if such action is taken, would the ships simply leave, or how would they respond?
The ships would simply cloak. In fact, this may be actually part of the process anyway. In other words, they may reveal themselves and then they will cloak so that they seem not to be there. And then they will reveal themselves and then they will cloak. And then they will reveal themselves, playing a sort of hide and seek game to get you used to the idea that they are there, and yet to remove themselves in a certain way visually so that you can relax about the idea of our presence. This way, you can get used to them more quickly over time, because you will realize that they come and then they disappear, and then they are there and then they are not. And very quickly, you will get used to the idea, more quickly than if we just stayed there. Because it gives you the opportunity to understand that we are willing to disappear, willing to go away, if you do not choose to interact with us in a way that is appropriate to open contact.
And are many of them already there, but they're cloaked right now?
Some, not all. Not going to give you coordinates.
Talking about technology, you've mentioned that following open contact, the Interstellar Alliance will be sharing some of their technologies.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm interested in spacecrafts and nano suits. Are there any requirements or guidelines for obtaining access to your technologies?
All of that will be spelled out after open contact. We cannot give you, in a sense, a schedule at this time.
And following on that, since open contact will bring new technologies and we'll be learning and experiencing many new things, will this extend the current human lifespan?
Yes.
To what?
On average, within a couple of decades, it will not be uncommon for people to live to 120 to 130 years of age on your planet.
And after open contact, will it become easier to find time travelers? Specifically, will more people encounter doppelgangers of themselves who possess a time machine? Additionally, why haven't humans received more of that evidence of time travel, given a device capable of moving between dimensions would likely have appeared multiple times throughout history?
As we have explained many times, there is no such thing as time travel in the science fiction sense in which you depict it in your books and movies. You're only shifting to parallel realities. You are not actually going back into your own past or forward into your own future. There is no such thing, and that is why you have not encountered it.
What is the greatest challenge unseen? Sorry, what is the greatest unseen challenge to contact that humans, even in spiritual and disclosure circles, have yet to fully recognize?
The giving up of fear, the giving up of the idea of the negative ego.
Before open contact can occur, is there a single final challenge humanity must face, one last test that we must pass before we are truly ready? And if so, what is it?
Letting go of your fear of death, because exposure to high level frequency extraterrestrials is very similar, as we have said, to exposure to spirit, and your physical brain and physical body often react to the exposure to those frequencies as if you are going to die. So giving up the fear of death by realizing that you are all in spirit right now anyway will be of paramount importance for you to have a smooth encounter with high vibrational extraterrestrials. Of course, the introduction of extraterrestrials will be done in phases. It will be done in a way that you can generally handle it. It will be done in a way that will allow you the opportunity and the time to get used to things so that you can let go of these fears and have a true, meaningful encounter with extraterrestrials of various levels of frequency.
And in all of your observations of humanity, one is one aspect, trait, or quality that is truly unique to humans that isn't found in any other civilization or species.
It's not that we haven't found it anywhere else, but it is rare to see the degree to which humanity has forgotten that it is connected to all that is. So the idea of the depth of the experience of separation, the depth of the experience of negativity is somewhat unique in the way that humans on Earth express it, though it is not absolutely something that doesn't exist anywhere else. But you are doing it in a relatively unique way, according to what we have discovered.
You've said that the beginnings of open contact will begin within 5 years. I take it that this means that as a collective, we will be at the necessary vibration to be able to intake the presence of ETs. As a group who follows your teachings, will we therefore be able to individually meet ETs face to face as the broader public becomes accustomed to ET presence generally?
Yes. However, we will amend this because we simply gave you an overall window based on certain things, and there are many fluctuations and changes going on in the collective energy of your planet now. We can therefore say that open contact will begin in your year of 2027.
Um, so you said that the majority of humanity will experience open contact. My question
Over time, yes.
is, what part of humanity will not experience it? What characteristics might they have or lack that prevent them from aligning with that reality? And does this mean that everybody who follows the formula and feels excited about open contact is guaranteed to experience it?
There are no guarantees, but it is generally considered probable if you allow yourself to move into a higher frequency. It is a natural result of moving into a higher frequency that is commensurate or at least vibrationally compatible to some degree with extraterrestrials and spirits that exist on that level. So, for the most part, yes. But if it is not part of a life plan of a soul to experience it, or if a soul chooses to remain in great negativity and chooses to go down another path that does not have contact, then those are still possible because you always have free will and the freedom to choose. It will not be a common thing on your planet, but there may still be the possibility that some people will not want to experience open contact. They may remove themselves by shifting to another reality, and that can also mean that they may simply die before it happens, or they will simply never be in a place on your planet where they will ever really directly experience it, even though they may hear that it is happening.
And on that note, is there a threshold frequency that we must have? So if you're under that, you will not experience contact?
That depends, and there's a wide range and window of frequencies that will still allow you to experience contact in a certain way. And it can help you develop higher frequencies that will allow you to experience more of it. Again, remember, this will be done in phases, in ways that you can handle, in ways you can absorb, in ways that will allow you to be willing to raise your frequency over time, if that is necessary process for each individual. But the idea is that, generally speaking, in the way that we have delivered frequencies to you, in the way we mean it, in the way we perceive those frequencies, something below 30,000 cycles per second will most likely not experience open contact. It would be too dangerous. Again, the idea of operating even at 40 and 50,000 cycles per second may allow open contact to be relatively distant, remote, or intermittent, even though you may know about it. In terms of interacting with ETs more directly, it will probably be necessary for an individual to operate at least above 80,000 to 100,000 cycles per second in the way that we mean that reading.
Thank you. Besides open contact for now, is there anything else humanity is not ready for?
There are many things humanity is not ready for. The list is too long to mention here, but that's all simply part of your process of evolution. So we understand the way that you mean the question, but we're simply going to answer it as everything happens in perfect timing. So along the path of humanity's evolution, obviously there are many, many things that humanity is not ready for. In other words, for example, you are certainly not ready to go out and help other planets evolve. You will eventually be, and as we have said many times, you will become their UFOs and can help them understand that there is life in the cosmos other than themselves and help them up the ladder of evolution. Humanity is not ready for that at this point. You have to raise yourself up first.
Like our version of Star Trek.
Yes, in a manner of speaking. And that will happen more likely than not somewhere within the next century of your time.
What is the difference between the Yael and the Shalanaya?
Well, the Yael are the hybrid race that are the watchers, keepers of the Shalanaya. The Shalanaya are the children, the hybrid children.
That goes perfectly into our next section. We have a lot of questions about hybrid children. I'm not sure I understand exactly who the hybrid children are. If I am part of the hybridization agenda and my genetic material was used to create children, then these direct children would be the hybrid children,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
However, the confusion comes because you have said that the first beings created by the Greys were tall Greys or Mazani, the second
yes.
hybrid race.
Well, there were phases of hybridization until such time as the hybridization program would allow hybrids to appear more human. So the first phases of it were still looking like the grays and other species because the hybridization project had not maximized at that point. But it has now reached a point where you can barely tell the difference. Although you can tell the difference in a variety of ways, we mean physiologically they are now more like humans on Earth because that's how it all started anyway, from humans from a parallel reality that mutated into grays and other versions of themselves. And so to come back to the human form, they had to experiment in phases to get closer and closer and closer to the human form so that you would experience the hybrid children in the way that you're going to experience them as being somewhat similar to yourselves at this point.
You said in a recent transmission that there are already hybrids living among us and being dropped off at adoption agencies.
Yes,
What race are these hybrids? Where did they come from? Do you know why they are here? And what differentiates them from us?
they are here to help humanity evolve. They are here to be part of the acceptance of open contact and ease into the program. The idea is when you ask what race are they are all races if you mean the races of humanity. They come from the ships. They come from the hybridization program.
In Judy Carroll's book, Human by Day, Zeta by Night, it appears that the Zeta Greys prioritize duty over excitement, often pushing themselves to serve the collective over the self. How do we balance our excitement with our duties? If I'm not excited to do something, but it is my duty, should I still do it?
That depends on what you're talking about. This is too generalized a question. We have talked many times about the idea that certain things that are truly necessary for you to do to thrive or maintain yourself properly in physical reality can be done in ways, if you use your creativity and imagination, that can be more enjoyable for you and more in alignment with your passion. So the idea is you have to make sure you're not the one dampening your excitement when you talk about the idea of duties. At the same time, you may be taking on duties you don't have to take on. I'm not going to tell you to stop doing your duties because it's not clear what you're referring to. So the idea is you have to examine what it is you consider your duties to be that are necessary for you to accomplish in physical reality to maintain yourself in a proper way so that you can thrive in your physical society. And the ones that you deem that are absolutely necessary, find ways in your imagination and creativity to do them in a way that is more representative of your passion. There's always a way, if something is truly necessary that needs to be done, there's always a path that is more representative of your passion that you can figure out how to do those things. We have given you an example, a simplistic example perhaps, but nevertheless an example when some people say, oh, I don't need to do the dishes. I don't like to do the dishes. I don't like to wash dishes. But if it is truly necessary for you yourself to do them, and you can't hire someone else who's excited about doing them, then the idea is to understand there are ways to do them that can actually assist you. For example, washing the dishes allows warm water to run over your hands, and this can actually put you in a very meditative and contemplative state, so that while you're washing the dishes, you can actually do a meditation that can help elevate your vibrational frequency. So it's a matter of using your imagination and creativity to make sure that the things that are truly necessary can be done in a way that actually helps you and that is actually representative of your excitement, rather than just simply assuming that everything that you're calling a duty should not be done. You have to be very specific and very discerning about what that term means to you.
There's so much prejudice in the world right now. Why would the Sasani want to send their hybrid children here? Won't they
To
face,
help, to help, to help make sure that those prejudices go away.
thank you. Can any Sasani person have a quote bad day? Can they stub their toe or trip and fall or scrape their knee? Is it
Not
some
usually. If, however, something like that were to happen, we would know there would have to be a very positive reason for it, and we would learn something from it that is really important for us to learn, and maybe not even important for us to learn on our own, but important for us to share with others in terms of that experience. However, just to answer the question generally, no, those things don't usually happen in our society because we operate on pure synchronism.
I attended the Sedona event on March 15th, and after it ended, I saw many UFOs in the sky moving in the same direction. Then I witnessed what appeared to be a portal from which these ships were emerging. But what was that your ship, or which civilization did they belong to?
Not my ship. These are mostly Pleiadian ships.
What are the indigenous cultures who have made contact with ETs? Are you willing to share specific names of indigenous groups?
Oh, many indigenous groups in the Americas, the Hopi, the Maya, and in Central America, the Inca, and in Africa, the Dogon tribes, and in Tibet, some of the ancient tribes there that live in the Himalayas have encountered extraterrestrials, and several others. But in general, those.
Can you talk about the correlation, if there is any, of the comet that wiped out Atlantis and the comet that our scientists predicted wiped out dinosaurs? Did dinosaurs live alongside humans?
Well, you have to understand that dinosaurs still live alongside humans because many of them evolved into what you call birds. Now, many of your scientists are actually referring to birds as avian dinosaurs
Mhm.
because they are a direct evolutionary extension of certain branches of dinosaurs. Obviously, not all of them survived. But the idea is this is why in a lot of your cultures, comets are considered to be bad omens because they usually represent the wiping out of one cycle and the beginning of another cycle by the destruction of the previous cycle by impacting your planet. So the correlation between the two is simply that Earth is a planet of cycles, and the idea of cosmic debris is one of the mechanisms that allows those cycles to occur, especially with regard to the idea of asteroidal or cometary impacts that end one cycle and begin another. That is the correlation. But this is why in your culture you view the idea of comets as a negative omen. Not that it is really negative, it's just that it's taken on that connotation because of the magnitude of the impact and the effect on your planet and on the cultures on it when that occurs.
And just to confirm, those were two separate comets, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Separated by millions upon millions of years of time. But there have been others in your history as well, far back in the past. And even one in relatively recent history that simply didn't actually reach the Earth, what you call the Tunguska event that exploded in your sky and flattened an entire forest in Siberia. That is in 1908.
Okay. Um, there were a couple questions about the Black Knight satellite. Do you have any information that you can share with us about this, its function, where it's from?
This has grown into a mythology. There is no Black Knight satellite. It's simply space debris. It has been thought to be, because of its unusual configuration, some kind of an extraterrestrial object or satellite. It is not. It doesn't exist in the way people on your planet think it does. It's just a piece of debris.
Okay. Well, on that note, another question here is I heard there are thousands of satellites cluttering up our skies. With all this stuff flying around up there, how do the ET ships not crash into them?
Well, how do you not crash into them when you send probes out from your own planet? You have to understand that space is vast. Even the area around your own planet, even though you have somewhere between 7 and 8,000 objects orbiting your world, plus little bits of debris, it's not impossible to encounter them. It's not impossible to impact them, but you have to understand the distances are really vast. And therefore, any two objects, any two satellites, any pieces of debris that are orbiting your planet exist, first of all, on different levels, different layers. Some are closer in orbit, some are farther in orbit. They're not all in the same orbit. And number two, the distance between a lot of these things can be hundreds, if not thousands of miles. You have to really understand how spread out they are, even though there are many thousands of objects orbiting your planet. It's actually less dense than certain things going on your planet. So, in other words, an example has been used by some people to illustrate this point. There are many, many hundreds and millions of fish in the sea. But if you jump into the ocean, how likely it is you're going to smack into a fish? Very unlikely. They're so spread out, you actually have to find them. You have to look for them. So it's a similar idea in that going out into space, even with your own vehicles, it's very unlikely you will run into anything. And of course, you are keeping track of these things and you're plotting courses that avoid them. For UFOs and spacecraft from our civilizations and other civilizations that are very advanced, obviously we have the capability and the technology to avoid these things. And many times it's not even an issue of avoidance. We simply can come through portals that avoid the idea altogether because we're not really interacting with them. We're coming through from other dimensions and other directions that have absolutely nothing at all to do with crossing the path of your satellites. But if we have to, certainly we can avoid them, and there's certainly enough space to do so.
Are all living organisms in our galaxy or universe based on cells with chromosomes and DNA? If so, is the panspermia theory correct?
The panspermia theory is correct. Many are connected by genetics to you and to each other, and DNA that is very similar but rearranged into different patterns. However, there are life forms that are very, very different. Life forms that you might recognize as based on other elements like silicon and so on and so forth, that have a completely different genetic structure and a completely different idea of what you would call DNA. So the answer is both. There are many life forms that share your DNA in terms of the actual makeup of DNA. There are many life forms that share the idea of similar molecules that are arranged differently, and there are many life forms that have nothing at all to do with what you understand to be your chromosomes and your DNA arrangements at all.
So the double helix uniquely human?
No, no, no. Again, not uniquely human. There are other life forms, as I said, that have that idea, that structure. But it may be rearranged slightly differently in certain ways, or it may be even very similar. All I'm simply saying is that there are other life forms that don't have that structure at all. There are other life forms that may not even be based on the same ingredients that compose your DNA.
And what is your DNA like?
Similar to yours, because again, remember, we're just another type of human.
A double helix?
Yes. And in a sense, an energetic connection to a third strand and also higher strands of DNA as well that are non-physical.
Based in carbon?
Based in carbon, yes.
I would like to play frequencies in certain caves, portals, and stone circles in Ireland to see what resonates, but I don't want to disappear somewhere. Is that something that could actually happen?
Not likely. It's not impossible, but not likely. And if it became possible, then it would be part of your life plan and it would be okay because you would have arranged for such a thing. But I'm going to say it's probably 99.9% unlikely.
Heart shapes are typically depicted in pink or red, symbolizing love and passion. Yet the heart chakra is associated with the green color. Why is this? Why are we commonly, when we commonly link hearts to shades of pink, rose, or red?
Because you're looking at it from the perspective of passion. The idea of the green chakra and the heart chakra being associated with that color has more to do with your connection to nature.
Is Bashar's system of raising frequency connected to the chakra system or the pineal gland?
Both. Following the formula raises your vibration, allows your chakras to spin up, to align. It takes advantage of many different aspects of your physicality, including the pineal gland, so that you can perceive other dimensions of reality by raising your frequency. Again, as we say, the formula is a complete kit that leaves nothing out.
Does mycelium have a role in our future? Can you confirm or deny that it is either a consciousness or an alien form? Does it have hidden knowledge that humans can benefit from?
I wouldn't call it an alien form unless you understand that through panspermia, everything on your planet originated somewhere else. But the idea is it is native in that sense, as far as anything goes, to Earth. It does absolutely have knowledge, and this is the basis of what we have given you from Willa Hilla Chrising as the basis of connecting to the mycelial network between trees and their roots that allow you to go into the cryptic meditations that allow you to advance in the 5 levels that Willa Hilla Chrising talks about. So yes, you can connect to the mycelial network and it can give you an understanding of your connection as nature, your expression as nature, and your connection to nature and nature spirits, and give you a lot of knowledge that you don't possess at this particular moment.
There were a couple of questions about sexuality. Is being gay genetic? Are we, and why are we born this way? If so, why is the path often difficult, especially when subconscious conditioning suggests it's wrong? How can I find peace with my sexuality? Does the Bible condemn homosexuality, or is it a misinterpretation focused on violence rather than sexuality?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a misinterpretation. It was a deliberate placement of something that people were against. Nevertheless, there's nothing wrong with it. And yes, of course, it can be encoded in your genetics. But remember, this is chosen by spirit. And the reason it is chosen by spirit to be expressed that way is because the soul is everything and nothing, male, female, what have you. And therefore, on your planet at this time, because of the need to experience and develop more tolerance for the differences among you, many people are choosing to be part of the LGBTQIA community. So to give humanity an opportunity to realize that there can be many differences and many expressions of the soul and allow people to relax their intolerance. So these are brave souls willing to be different, to point out that the soul can be many different things and that there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's completely perfectly natural for the soul to express itself in any number of ways. There are more genders out in the cosmos than even you are expressing in your humanity. So get used to it because you're going to run into a lot of extraterrestrials that express gender in ways that are completely alien to humanity.
How many genders are there in your civilization?
Generally, there is 2 because we do not need to learn that lesson. So we simply keep it simple. There are some exceptions, but again, for very different reasons that exist on your planet.
Do autistic individuals and children have a higher proclivity to telepathy than neurotypical adults? If so, why?
Yes. Because they are atypical, because they are not focused in the same way that most people on your planet are. They're not compartmentalized in the same way. They are highly focused in certain ways that allow them to express other abilities that you all have. Again, very, very brave souls who have chosen to appear limited in certain ways, but are actually expressing certain talents and skills and abilities beyond what quote unquote typical humans express to give you the understanding that you are capable of more when you allow yourself to be more of who you are, which is what autism to some degree is all about. Even though it may be focused in a specific way through autism, it is still a way of understanding that you are more than you typically think of yourselves to be. And therefore, they're more open to communication in other ways. They're showing you there are other ways of connecting and communicating. That's their lesson in general, although you have to take it on a specific case-by-case basis as to exactly what the lesson may be for that particular individual to teach others.
So is it just a perception that there are more autistic individuals now, or are there
No,
actually more?
no, there are actually more. And again, they've always been around, but it's now more important than ever that souls incarnate in that way to again illustrate the idea that you are more than you think you are, because now your society is willing to explore these things. Therefore, souls will take advantage of that and will incarnate in ways that give you more opportunities to explore that.
And will exploring this help us accelerate to open contact?
Of course.
What Earth-based medicine could enhance the possibility of an ET experience?
Dimethyltryptamine, produced by the pineal gland. Specific doses will actually take you to specific vibrational frequencies that will specifically put you in touch with certain specific ET consciousnesses. This is laid out in the book that exists on your planet called DMT, the Spirit Molecule.
Thank you. It is said that our thoughts and words are so powerful that they make things happen. Can you define what a thought is? There are so many different things that come into my thoughts, like an epiphany, a desire, a wish, a fear, a worry, and heartfelt sadness. If I just spend time repeating positive mantras in my mind, is that is that a thought, and would it negate the painful stuff?
No. Remember that it's your beliefs that actually manifest. The thoughts are secondary level, secondary reflections or echoes of what you believe to be true, as are emotions and behaviors. So the idea of just having a bunch of random thoughts of different types going through your mind isn't necessarily going to do anything unless they're representative of deep-seated beliefs. But the thoughts can reveal what those beliefs are to you, so you can decide whether or not you want to maintain those beliefs or let them go if they don't serve you. So the idea is to pay attention to the thoughts to find out what you believe to be true, but just having random thoughts doesn't necessarily do anything if they're not followed by actual actions to manifest those thoughts and those beliefs that the thoughts are issuing from. Remember that you have the beliefs first, that's the blueprint. Then you have the emotional and the thought and the behavior echoes that reinforce the belief. So again, you can use them to find out what the beliefs are, but the thoughts themselves aren't going to necessarily do anything if you're not going to use them to figure out what the beliefs are that are generating those thoughts.
Why should a human put any more faith in ET channelings than we put in religion? Many things resonate with me, but growing up in religion, I am aware that I have been deceived by fantastical beliefs before and find myself questioning what I hear.
Well, you shouldn't. The idea is not to have faith in ET information, but to apply it in your life and get the proof that the information itself actually makes a difference. And that, to some degree, is the difference between ET information and religion. And secondarily, of course, as I said, in short order, in a few years, we will actually start to physically show up. Therefore, you will know that this information is actually coming from beings that are evolved, experienced, and are simply sharing with you information that has allowed their societies to evolve to the level that they have. So there is actually empirical, grounded evidence that this information can make differences in your life. It's not an issue of faith, it's an issue of actual physical application of the information. But you get to free yourself to choose whatever you wish to believe in. That's up to you. We only share this information because we know it can work, but we're not telling you that you have to use it. We're not telling you that there's anything about your life that is going to be worse if you don't. It's really up to you to decide. And to some degree, that is also the difference between what is happening in terms of information coming from us and information that may be being delivered through religions on your planet. So you have to decide for yourself what works and what doesn't.
I've been holding occasional conversations with you, Bashar, in my mind. I feel as if the responses I receive from you are actually coming from you. Might that be correct?
No, they're coming from your own higher mind. As I said, because you are familiar with our vibration, because you are used to hearing us communicate with you, but we are acting as a mask for your higher mind so that when you get that information, when you ask your questions, an answer comes from your higher mind. And because it's very similar to our vibration, your higher mind, it feels like it's coming from us because you're used to using us as a filter or a mask to communicate with your higher mind. So it's coming from you, your soul.
I understand that you have said that we are our government, yet vote for people based on what they stand for. What do we do when we trust what they say, we vote for them, and then they end up not being honorable to our laws and their promises? That's not what we voted for.
Well, then obviously you use your systems to vote for something else. You change those people out. It's up to you. That's why we say you are your governments. You are structured in a way to say, well, if we're going to put a representative in a particular place and they don't necessarily fulfill the wishes of the people that put them there, then you change them out. Simple as that. Be active.
I cannot stop thinking about the Israeli hostages that were returned in coffins. The baby, 9 months old, and his brother, 4 years old, were taken with their mother, along with the 84-year-old peace activist. I cry for them every day, and I can't stop thinking about their immense, abhorrent fear and suffering. I remember you mentioned a while back that these people had a soul contract on some level to be involved, but I can't imagine how a mother and her babies would ever sign up for this. Can you please tell us about this family, how they are doing on the other side?
They're
And
doing fine. They're doing fine. First of all, the way that you're phrasing the question is inaccurate. A mother and her babies didn't sign up for it. Empowered spirits signed up for it. And one of the reasons is when you see that degree of suffering that makes you grieve for them, those empowered souls that still exist, that are eternal and infinite and cannot die, know that they have provided a service by allowing that to happen, by demonstrating the degree to which there is disconnection on your planet from soul to soul, from person to person, so that you will do something about it and make sure it doesn't happen again. That's the lesson. And you learn the lesson. But they're fine. They're indestructible souls. They understood that going through that experience would cause people to make changes on your planet so that it wouldn't happen again.
what, as we as individuals, what can we do for them?
You can't do anything for them. You don't need to do anything for them. They're doing things for you. There is nothing they need. They're in bliss. They're in the spirit world of unconditional love. So if there's anything that they would want, it's for you to do what we just said. Learn the lessons that they brought to you and make sure it doesn't happen again. That's what you can do for them, to honor what they went through for you. Again, remember that babies didn't make this decision. Eternal souls made this decision. They just came in the disguise of a mother and babies so that you would have the reactions you're having so that you would do something about it. Make sense?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been following the formula for about 4 years, and it has become second nature to me. My husband, however, lives in constant fear of financial collapse due to the new administration. Since we have joint accounts, he wants to make decisions based on fear, while I live in synchronicity. Will my will my energy positively influence his in a beneficial way?
Well, it can, but not if he's not willing to allow it to. Perhaps an experiment would be to have separate accounts and see what happens to your account by following a positive path and see what happens to his account by following a fearful path. And then it would be perhaps a stronger demonstration of what your energy will do to all the things in your life. So it's up to you to decide what experiment might be illustrative and might get him to pay attention to the difference in energy as being very important. But that doesn't mean it has to, because he has free will. And if he wants to stay in fear, he will. But if you want to demonstrate it, then I would suggest that that's one experiment you can do that might illustrate it. Have separate accounts.
And what percentage of our population consists of ETs living among us? And how can we connect with them? And will they allow a world war to happen?
They will not allow a nuclear world war to happen. If you want to fight a world war with guns and sticks and swords and knives and bombs other than nuclear, that's up to you. However, they're not really going to let that go too far because in this particular cycle, it's very important that humanity continue to evolve for a variety of reasons we will not go into right now. So they will not really allow the idea of a world war to happen, but at the same time, they're not really intervening or interfering. They are doing some things that can allow people on your planet who desire a more harmonious and peaceful existence to choose those things and steer yourselves away from such an outcome. So it's going to be something that will be done in concert with each other. They're not just going to do it for you, but they have been working behind the scenes with certain individuals on your planet already to give you the best possible opportunity to choose a different future. It is more than likely that you will, as evidenced by the fact that we have already just said that even though we originally gave you a 5-year window in which contact would occur, we can now say with almost 90% certainty that open contact will begin in your year of 2027, which is only 2 years away.
Thank you. And this leads into the next question. As someone about to join the military, will open contact affect the structure or dependency of the military? And if so, how?
Yes, it'll affect everything. But the idea is that there are things that the military on your planet does wonderfully, does best, as an emergency service, as a rescue operation, things like that. Those kinds of functions that the military already perform will be enhanced and heightened, and the militaries of your planet can actually be very valuable in aiding and assisting in the delivery of goods and services and resources and distribution of things around your world because they have the resources and infrastructure to do so. So they will be very good for rescue in natural disasters. They will be very good for the distribution of resources around your planet in a variety of ways. The militaries are very well organized to do these kinds of things already, and they will expand these particular abilities after open contact.
Last June, I was affected by a layoff at my corporate job after 27 years at this company. This catapulted me into a job search, and I'm still on it. I see this happening to people all over the US in the corporate world and the government sector. What is behind this, and is there hope for us all?
It's time to start new things. It's time to follow your passion, follow the formula, start new businesses, look around for what people actually need, volunteer for things to get new ideas about new businesses that can be formed, that can serve humanity. Start being creative and imaginative, be active, proactive, move forward, create things if they don't exist, create opportunities if they don't exist.
Curious about how to teach my children, ages 14 and 10, that reality is their own creation. Do I even need to? The Matrix and The Truman Show freaked them out, and I'm sure it freaked them out plenty of times too over the years with all the Bashar chat.
All right, well, again, everyone has their own life path. You can certainly do some of the things that we have suggested by creating with your imagination and creativity certain scenarios in which you can demonstrate to them that their choices have consequences in the real world, in the physical world, so to speak. And they can learn to harness their abilities, their powers. And you can teach them the idea of the formula and get them to understand how it works by experiencing more synchronicity in their lives so they can see a more direct connection between what they put out, determining what it is they get back. You can also make sure that any lessons, as we have said, that you feel are important for them to learn to thrive in physical reality, using your creativity and imagination, are adapted to what excites them rather than trying to diminish their excitement into the lesson. And you can remind them that those things that they're freaking out about are simply fantasy movies and not necessarily representative of reality. The idea of the Matrix, many people say, well, is our reality a simulation? Yes, but it's your simulation. It's your projection. It's not coming outside from anyone else. It's yours. And for the Truman Show, again, you are not trapped in anything. You have free will. You have the ability to understand that you're here by your own choice and by your own agreement. Now, again, whether or not they buy into these things, it depends on their life path and what it is they need to learn. But don't be too fearful about the idea of their path. Everyone is an indestructible soul. They will learn the lessons that they laid out for themselves to learn in one way, shape, or form. You can help mitigate the way in which some of this has to happen for them by allowing them again to experience the actual effect of applying the formula in their lives and getting a response, getting an effect that allows them to see the connection between what they put out and what they're creating as a physical experience. You can explain it to them in any number of ways and give them examples from physics and so on and so forth. Examples from what other people have experienced. Look for examples of synchronicities. Start their minds thinking about seeing the connection between everything and that everything is an orchestration. Everything is synchronicity. Expand their minds that way by providing examples of that, because there are millions and millions of examples of that throughout history on your planet. Get them to ponder those things. You don't have to say you have to believe this. You can say, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? Give them the opportunity to approach it from the way they would need to approach it, rather than lecturing them. Offer them a suggestion and let them ponder it. Isn't this interesting? Look at what happened over here. Why do you think it happened that way? Encourage their curiosity rather than just saying you have to buy into this idea.
Thank you, Bashar. This is one last question.
Yes.
Of all the questions humanity has ever asked about extraterrestrial life, open contact, and existence, what is one question we've never asked but absolutely should?
Why? Why is this happening this way now? Explore that, and you will find answers to many things that have been hidden for a long time. Why? Why is this happening now?
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. We thank you for your service. Allow yourselves now to go into a relaxed state as we proceed forward with the transmission. So, allow yourselves to become very relaxed. Let go of the cares of the day. Breathe gently and easily, and open up to the idea of the phases of contact. Allow yourselves, whether you accompany yourself with light or music or what have you during your meditative experience, allow yourselves to open up to the fact that contact has been going on behind the scenes for a long time, that it's been here for generations. It is now simply leaking to the surface, slowly pouring out into the awareness of your society. Allow yourself to see the idea of contact as if it is a fluid leaking out into every aspect of society, so that more people are becoming aware of the existence of extraterrestrials that have been there and helping for quite some time. Allow yourself to perceive the idea as if a fluid is now penetrating and being absorbed into the fabric of society, that you are slowly becoming aware and realizing the truth of our existence, the fact of our existence. Allow yourself to perceive as a material starting to absorb this fluid of awareness, until it becomes saturated around the world, until everyone can place their hand on this fabric and feel the cool fluid of our existence penetrating into your society, so that you are not afraid, so that you are aware that we are here to help. Feel everyone starting to connect, starting to link to this fluid, so that you become immersed in this ocean of love, of connection, of awareness, of joy, of expansion, this ocean of evolution, this ocean of the miraculous, this fluid of life, this fluid of awakening, this fluid of awareness. Allow yourselves to become immersed. Allow yourselves to breathe easily of this fluid. Allow yourselves to relax into and be buoyed up by this fluid that supports you, supports your joy, supports your passion, supports your needs, supports you in every way, shape, or form, that allows you to move forward, to flow, to evolve, to become your true selves, your full selves, your empowered selves, your creative selves, your imaginative selves, to allow you to become part of the galactic family to which you have always belonged, that allows you to express more of your soul through your physical form, to go from third to fourth density, to upgrade your vibration, to be who you truly are. Allow this fluid to embrace you, to support you, so that you may float freely upon this ocean. Allow yourselves to relax into the acceptance of more of your connection to the cosmos. Allow your hearts to open up and your minds to open up, to allow yourselves to know there is nothing to fear, that you are being put in touch with your true selves, that you are becoming more of who you truly are, that this is what the awakening is all about. You are awakening into yourselves, awakening as your true selves, awakening into the understanding, awakening into the light of the cosmos, to a new dawn and a new day for humanity, moving forward and evolving to bring heaven to earth, joy to life, freedom to your existence. Breathe it in. Let this fluid fill your hearts, your souls, your minds, your lungs, every cell of your body. Let it invigorate you. Allow yourself to feel the vibration of the warmth coursing throughout your veins, throughout your nerves. Allow yourselves to become part of the orchestration and synchronicity of everything. Allow it to penetrate you. Become transparent to the light of existence, the light of creation, the light of unconditional love. Allow yourselves to become clear and transparent to this light. And go forth and be of service to all in the best way you can, in the most passionate way you can, in the most creative way you can, in the most imaginative way you can. And life will support you. Light will support you. Allow yourself to be buoyed up by this fluid, this ocean, this current in creation. Breathe it in and make it your own. Relax into it. Feel free. Feel open. Feel renewed. Feel refreshed. Feel your truth. Feel your heart, your soul, your mind, your spirit, your energy, your soul is a light. Your soul is a reflection. Your soul is an aspect of all that is. Feel the unconditional love that supports you always and forever. We thank you for allowing us to share this with you this day of your time as we move forward toward open contact, bit by bit, more and more, every day, in every way. Be prepared, be ready, be open, be here now. Our unconditional love to you all. Good day.